But what we're looking for in a high tight flag is an initial move of 100 to 120% in 4 to 8 weeks. And so don't get necessarily tied up in the exact numbers at this point. What we're looking for is a super strong move in a short amount of time. Okay, so the institutions are falling over themselves to grab as many shares as possible. And so now you have this really, really strong move. The stock is super extended, and now it starts to correct a little bit, and it goes sideways. And the amazing thing is that it doesn't correct much, right? 10 to 25% in only 3 to 5 weeks. And so here's this move that goes up, it doubles. And now over the next month, it takes a little bit of a break, and no one wants to sell the stock. And in fact, those who are selling find happy buyers there who will continue to scoop up more shares. And then finally, the stock is able to break out of this and shocks everybody and can continue to move up even further. Now, I was a little conservative here. In the book, so I had some can move 100% or more from this formation. In the book, it said some can move 200% or more. So I wanted to be a little bit more on the conservative end just to keep things in perspective here. Not all of these are going to work, okay? And not everything is a high tight flag, okay? So after you see some of these examples, don't go running around and thinking that everything that you see is going to be a high tight flag because they are rare. They're extremely rare, and we only see a few in every bull market. But the reason why we wanted to go over it now is because this is one of the few times that I remember seeing that there are a number of examples that have that potential for the high tide flag, and there are a few that have formed high tide flags, in my opinion, and have broken out of them and are working pretty well so far. So that in that respect, it's kind of unusual. Now, here is what a high tight flag looks like. And to probably all of us, this is a super extended stock, right? And it's just straight up. And sure, it'd be nice to try to hold on to this whole move right here. Now, Rich, I'll play a little Where's Waldo here.
Sure.
Here's a stock that's going straight up here. Let's see if you can pick out the high tight flag.
Well, I would say the flagpole looks to be right here. These blue bars going straight up here in a short time period, and then this kind of sideways action would be your flag.
Yeah, you nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. And so here is the stock, right? Here's that super strong move, 100 to 120% in only 4 to 8 weeks. And so you can see here, these are institutions just falling over each other. Notice just how quickly it moves up in such a short amount of time. Notice how it finishes at the top end of the range, too, right? So there weren't enough shares here, and the price just went through the roof. Then suddenly, you see the stock correct sideways, and now these 3 weeks were probably a pretty tough 3 weeks to hold because there's a lot of whipsawing going on here. But notice how it just closed around the same range each week, around the same price, right? It wasn't that far away, and also kind of finished in the middle of the range. So while during the whole week it was probably really tough, and if you're watching your account too closely, it's very easy to get shaken out. But at the end of the week, they just magically kind of closed around the same area. And then finally, and so what we are doing here, when you see a pattern like this, you're looking at and saying, okay, the peak of the pole, that's my entry point. I'm going to use that at 10 cents, and that'll give me my buy point, and then you finally have that breakout. And so at this point, when no one else thinks that it can't go even higher, this stock just seems to be getting started at this time. And so it's very rare where you see this. So stick to more on the conceptual level. You're seeing this super strong stock move up, and then no one wants to sell it. No one wants to give any of their shares away, which is amazing, after their prices doubled. Right? So super strong stock corrects a little bit and then takes off again. It's not waiting around too long to go through the normal base. And so this was JDS Uniphase right here. And so the intention really of this webinar was to give you a few examples that you can pull up in MarketSmith. And we're going to give you the dates here. And so write them down, pull it up using the exchange date feature in MarketSmith, and start studying these. They're very rare, but if you can catch one of these, wow, that can make your year right there. So it's not easy to find, not easy to handle. But the more you study it for these few examples that we have here, the better prepared you will be for the next one that comes around. Okay, so JDS Uniphase, on the weekly chart, it broke out on December 24th, 1999. And Here it is on the daily chart. All right, so this was actually December 21st, 1999. And here's JDS Uniphase breaking out. And be honest, how many people will be brave enough to try it at this point, right?
Yeah.
But notice that here's that strong move on the daily chart, and look at that whipsaw action, just all over the place, right? And even that nasty shakeout here. And Rich, I'll be honest here, I'm probably not going to be holding on during this time.
It would be tough to hold, and it's certainly whipsaw action. But when you kind of put it in the context and think about proportionality, you've got this big move up. And yeah, these spreads are pretty wide, and it would be pretty hard to hold. But when you compare these two, it's pretty obvious that you've got a lot more buying going on throughout this whole move, and not very many people selling, right? The amount of people selling here compared to the amount of people buying here, you've definitely got the scale tipped in the side of demand, right? And people are still in demand of this stock. So try to look at this kind of in context and kind of burn this image into your brain. This is strength. This is a really good thing to see. And there's a lot of stocks. I guess I shouldn't say a lot of stocks. I could think of a few stocks out there right now that look pretty similar.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Now, I think another